They appear in the first aliyot of those two parshas. And they both have the same message. The message basically is to think of the broader implications of your actions. Sometimes we feel like we're very right, and perhaps you are right, but it doesn't always mean you have to act based on that. So the first case that I want to bring to your attention is says here on page 1104, Parshat Shoftim, the third verse is Tzedek Tzedek Tirdof. Anybody heard that verse before? That part of that verse, Tzedek Tzedek Tirdof? You know what that means? What is it? Can you translate that for us? Justice, justice you should pursue. So how do you understand that? Why do you think the verse is repeating it twice? Do we have a thought on that? What? It's for emphasis, right? Anybody have another idea? Or, I mean, there are many ideas offered, but that's the common one for emphasis. What? So another a really great idea that I saw in the name of Simcha Bonim of Pshischa, he says that it says tzedek, tzedek, justice or righteousness, righteousness you should pursue in the courts or in life. And he says you have to pursue righteousness with righteousness, right? Which I think is a very powerful idea. Many times we know we're right, and perhaps you are right. There's something, you have a just cause that you're fighting for. And then in order to achieve that just cause, some people will do it through unjust means. And so the verse is telling you, good, fight for justice, but do it in a just way. Let's think about like a few examples I could bring for this. Here's a very simple example, like in our shul. Sometimes like someone will take your spot, or perhaps a kiddush will take your spot, or in the shul they'll sit in your seat, and the seat is yours. It's your spot. And you're right. But perhaps the way that you go about achieving, reclaiming your spot should also be a just way of doing it. So you could be kind, you could be gentle, or you could just let it go sometimes. Meaning you could have a just cause. Doesn't always mean that it justifies the means. Another example would be like with business. Like a just cause would be to support your family. If your family's suffering and you're low on funds, you don't have what to supply, you don't have what to provide for them. That's a just cause. But that doesn't justify gaining that money, earning that money in unjust ways. So justice you should pursue. Justice through just means. That's like one good teaching. And that's basically thinking about the broader ramifications of your actions. It might be right for you, but it might not be right for the person you're stealing from, or for that person you're hurting by telling them to get out of your seat. So here's one more nice explanation I saw from last week's Parsha. This is on page 1105 on the bottom of the page. It's talking about a wayward son. So there's a law about a wayward son that he's going off the wrong path. He's a drunken or a glutton. The Torah says there's a special law for this type of child. It's not applicable today. Don't worry. We're not going to do this to any of your children or grandchildren. But it talks about how this person ends up getting punished with death. And so I always wonder, what do I do with this? I've never had something to teach from this parsha, except for, be careful not to get drunk or become a glutton. But I saw a nice explanation for this. It's hinted to in the words of the verse. It's 11, the same idea of thinking about the ramifications of your actions. So it says here on page 1105 on the bottom of the page, Ki elish ben sorer or morev. You have a son who's a wayward son. Einenu shomea b'chol aviv u'b'chol imo. Doesn't listen to the words of his mother, the words of his father, or the words of his mother. So here's another deal. It's not like learning it out from specific details of the verse. Why did this case happen? According to this explanation, this case happened because there were two voices: b'chol aviv u'b'chol imo. So this is what I heard explained, that parents can have different opinions and different approaches in education, but they have to work together in educating their children. If you have a parent, there's two voices and they're completely different, that can confuse the child, and the child can go off the right path. And so it's the same thing, basically. Like a father or a mother can have their view, and if they're just sticking with their own view and not trying to work together to have a common a voice for their child to listen to, that can lead to a bad situation. So I think this is a common theme of thinking beyond what's right for you in the first case, or in this case as a parent, and kind of think of the greater good. And in this case, kind of blending your voice with the other voice, so the child has one voice. If there's two voices and they're conflicting with each other, it can lead to confusion, perhaps a wayward child.